Right. Hey guys, what's up? It's Dean because yeah, it's always Dean, but that's what I say at the beginning of a video. So hey, what's up? This is the second live yoga workout that I've done this week. The first one was a yoga for weightlifting, more focused on kind of active strength, balance, and more active mobility, so a bit more intense. This one is going to be more focused on recovery and flexibility. So we're going to be taking it down a notch, probably in the 2 to 3 out of 5 level in terms of flexibility. And we're going to be focusing on getting rid of muscle soreness, working into tight muscles. Inevitably, when you are lifting weights, you are going to get sore. As long as you're pushing yourself, you're going to get sore, you're going to get stiff, and that's normal. It's not a bad thing, and you can help relieve that soreness, you can help relieve that stiffness by doing some yoga. So, it's 4 p.m. It's Thursday. So for me, I don't know what your guys' workout schedule is, but I'm trying to show you guys what I would do for my own stuff. So it is, I lift weights on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Tuesday, I did a more intense yoga session. Thursday, we're going to do a more restorative yoga session. So this is a kind of a combination of, okay, let me work into some of the tight areas that I have from, working out from my workout yesterday, but then also let me get my body ready for my workout tomorrow. Yeah, this is meant to be kind of a demonstration of, hey, this is what we can do to do, yoga for weightlifting. So I'm just checking in and making sure that everything is working here. Can you guys see the yoga mat? Is this live? Looks like it. I'm gonna hit the refresh button here. Hopefully I don't break anything. Cool, 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 cool. What's up, YouTube? All right, there I am. Okay. All right, so this is working. Always love to see things working. That's always a good thing. Yeah, okay, cool. So, anyways, um, yeah, and this is the reason why I'm doing this. Oh gosh, here's my camera. The reason why I'm doing this is because I did a weekend workshop series a couple of weeks ago, and there was a very consistent theme with a lot of the guys there. They were already going to the gym multiple days per week. They were doing their other workouts, but yoga was just kind of like this nice to have thing, and it wasn't this need to do thing. And what I want to do is help inspire you guys to take yoga from a nice to have and turn it into a non negotiable. Because the reality is, if you are not doing some sort of mobility practice, if you are not working on extended range of motion, if you are not working at getting your body into deeper positions, deeper lunges, pigeons, bends, twists, you are not going to be able to do the other workouts that you're currently doing. You're also not going to be able to stay mobile and stay active for as long as you want to. The reality is that most of us are spending most of our days doing nothing, right? We kind of sit in a chair, we hover over it like this, and that's not great for our bodies. So if you go into your workout, your other workouts, your gym workouts, your runs, whatever it is, after you are sitting at a desk all day, your body's eventually going to break down. So we need to be able to do movements that are going to counter what you do during the day when you're sitting. And yoga and what we do here with Manful Yoga is perfect for that. Obviously, if you're new here, if you're new here, then I might need to say this, but if you've been here for a while, then this goes without saying. But Manful Yoga is a fitness centric yoga created specifically for men. So we are going to do these poses in a way where you don't have to have as much flexibility. You don't have to have experience with yoga. I'm going to walk you through the poses, and you'll know what you're supposed to feel, what you're not supposed to feel, and how to modify given your current flexibility and fitness levels. Um, to everyone who's watching this who's already part of the Manful Yoga members area, I want to say thank you to you guys. Thank you for being part of our community. Thank you for using these programs. Thank you for dedicating yourself to the programs, getting results, getting stronger, getting rid of pain, and feeling more confident in your longevity. And also thank you for the community that you've helped to create. We have an amazing community. We have a lot of people who are helping out one another, sharing their stories. And it's just really inspiring to see. And it is a really cool kind of unexpected, you know, side effect of what we've created with Manful Yoga is we do have this amazing community. All right, so let me just check in, make sure with the same. Uh, let's see here. Okay, got some random questions. Cool. All right, here we go. So let's get into it. Got my yoga mats here. You don't need two yoga mats. I just thought it looked cool, so I put two yoga mats out. You will need two yoga blocks and a strap. If you don't have this stuff, you can get by with a stack of books. You could use a dog leash, a belt, or even a t-shirt as a strap. And then I've also got knee pads, which I find are super helpful, especially for a restorative practice, just because that means that you know, you don't have to rest your knees on the ground for a while, and that just feels a lot better. So I usually like to start my restorative practices with a bit more intensity, get the body nice and warmed up, and then we kind of take it down a notch and get into those longer held stretches. So let's make it easy. I'm just going to have you start with your feet, toes touching, heels an inch apart. If that's uncomfortable, you can stand with your feet a little bit wider. We're going to bring the arms up overhead. Grab your left wrist with your right hand. We're going to pull up and over to the right. And we're going to stay here for at least a minute. So take some deep breaths. As you exhale, go deeper into the bend. So your inhale takes you taller. Your exhale, you go deeper into it. You should feel a nice stretch to the whole side of your body here. Make sure that your legs are straight, right? You're not bending one leg and keeping the other leg straight, but keeping both legs straight, squeezing your thighs so your legs are blocked out. Abs are somewhat engaged. So it's a pretty active stretch. One more breath here. And then back to the middle. Go ahead and switch hands. And notice that we're doing hand to wrist instead of fingers interlaced. This is just a bit more a restorative version of this pose, not as intense. Breathe in, lift up. Exhale to the left, hips toward the right. Stay up nice and tall. And if you're viewing me from the side, it helps to get your arms back, right? So I'm not letting my arms kind of come forward and twisting down, but I want to keep my arms squeezing back. I want to keep my chest up, keep my arms extended. And then I'm getting height, and then I'm going deeper, right? So not just collapsing to the side here, but staying long, keeping the legs engaged, keeping my core engaged, and then just slowly progressing into the stretch in the side of your body. And we are holding this for a decent amount of time, right? You want at least a minute with most of these poses. Sometimes if you're going faster, you might do one breath, but I really like to hold poses for a longer time. And I also find that most guys need more time in the poses, right? Guys are less flexible. We need more time to open up. And my experience was by the time we were moving on from the pose, I was just settling into it when I went to yoga studios. All right, let's go ahead and come back. Release. From here, we're going to go into a high lunge. So, right leg forward, left leg back. Press your left heel toward the ground. Let's get your ankle stretching. If you need a little bit of support here, you can place your right hand against a wall. If you have a wall, if you have a couch nearby, something like that. Make sure that you're pushing your left heel toward the ground, not keeping the heel floating, but pressing the heel toward the ground, pushing your right knee forward, feeling the stretch through your groin. And then make sure you're squeezing your left glute to help open up through the hip flexors. Bring your arms into goalpost arms. Squeeze the elbows back. So, kind of starting this workout off with a combination of strength and flexibility, right? I mentioned we're going to get kind of less intense as the workout goes on, but initially we want to get the muscles firing. Doesn't feel really great to do stretching when you're cold. So, you want to get the muscles warm, and then we'll go into some more stretch focused postures. But even depending on your fitness levels, like if you've got pretty good, level of stamina and you work out pretty regularly and you can do this stuff every day, then you might be able to do a pretty intense yoga session as a form of active recovery. But if you're new, then maybe this is a challenging workout for you, right? Everyone has kind of different fitness levels coming into it. And cool thing about these workouts is you can really tailor the intensity to what you need on that day. All right. Let's Go ahead and release. We'll switch sides. Left leg forward, right leg back. And then if you are less flexible, if you notice that your butt's kind of poking up behind you and your back is really arching, bring your feet closer together. And if you're more flexible, you can bring your feet further apart. All right, so that's how you're going to modify it to make the pose work for you. I always like to spend the first couple of breaths just kind of getting set, checking in. Today, for example, I noticed that my right hip just feels a little tight. So that's normal. I worked out yesterday. I did a lot of hip stuff. So my right hip's tight. So I'm just taking note of that. I'm going to breathe, see if I can relax my body, bring my arms up, and just kind of hang out in the pose. And it does get challenging, right? Holding up your body weight can be challenging, it can be frustrating, it can be kind of annoying, right? Holding a pose and not moving. Especially if you're new to this is going to feel challenging. Even though I would consider this a beginner-friendly exercise, this can be hard. So, and again, holding up your body weight, doing isometrics like this can be hard, especially if you're new, even if you are active in other things. I know when I got started with yoga, doing isometrics like this felt really challenging. I was used to lifting weights. I was used to doing sprints. I was a college athlete, but holding poses, just holding isometrics was difficult. So this will expose your weaknesses. It's pretty cool. All right, and let's go ahead and release. I want you to grab a block or a foam roller. Foam roller works too. By the way, foam rollers are awesome. You should use foam rollers more. We're going to come into a supported wide-legged forward fold. So feet are wide. Make sure that you are pressing down through the ball mound of your foot. So pushing down where your big toe is. Make sure that you're not collapsing to the insides of your feet, right? So you're not kind of rolling your ankles in toward one another, but keeping them neutral, pressing your feet actively into the ground. And then depending on flexibility here, you can bend your knees, or if you're more flexible, you can straighten the legs more. So it just kind of depends on what your flexibility levels are. And if you're more flexible and if it feels okay, you can start to fold down more. Maybe the hands come to the ground. If you have a block, you can change up the height, right? You've got a tall setting on your block, you've got a medium setting, you've got a small setting. The reason why the block is important here is because we want you to be able to feel supported and relaxed in the pose. So if you're doing this pose and you don't have a block and your hands are just kind of dangling, it doesn't feel very supported. So I want you to modify this however you need to so that your hands can get in contact with the ground. You're feeling a good stretch through your inner thighs, through your hamstrings. Your back feels okay, right? It doesn't feel like it's being overstretched, doesn't feel dull, achy, or painful. And you can also bend your knees to modify this, right? If you are less flexible. Right? A lot of guys who do mantle yoga most of the guys are in their 50s. There's a lot of guys in their 60s and 70s too. So if you're one of those guys and you're noticing, okay, my body doesn't work the same way that Dean's does. Hey, that's really normal, right? So modify, make the pose work for you. Use the props. It's much better to use the props and have good technique than try to force yourself into something that your body isn't ready for. All right. And from here, I want you to just kind of bend back and forth. So we're going to bend into one knee, bend into the other knee, and only bend as far as you can without pain. Right. So if you're doing this and that hurts, then don't bend that far. But we're just going to kind of go back and forth and kind of what I'll call like this Cossack squat prep position. Right. So not too much, just a little bit of dynamic movement, easing into your ankles, doing some good knee bending, but using a block so it feels supported. Right. It's also a good time to focus on your breathing. If you notice that you're not opening up, it could be that you're just kind of, it could be that because you're not breathing. So if you notice that you are holding your breath, that you're, right, maybe you're shallow breathing and you're not taking these conscious big breaths in and out of your nose, that's going to inhibit the amount of flexibility that you're able to get. All right, now I want you to come up. We're going to turn your toes out 45 degrees. We're going to move things out of the way so that you can see what you're doing. And then you're going to sit down into a haka slash goddess slash horse pose. It has too many names at this point. I call it a haka because it kind of looks like the New Zealand rugby team doing their thing, but more traditionally, it's called um, a uh, a goddess or a horse pose. So from here, I want you to make this a little dynamic, right? So the knees are facing out the best they can. You're squeezing your knees toward the back. You're squeezing your butt under your body. So if you kind of look at me from the side here, right, I'm trying to keep everything. I'm not letting my butt poke up behind me and arch my back like this. I'm trying to keep my butt under me, and that's going to make this a lot more challenging in terms of hip mobility. But that's what you want to do here. And then I'm just kind of moving side to side. And if something hurts, like for me right now, my knee is angry with this. Okay. So I'm not going to go any deeper than it wants to. So I'm listening to my body. It's saying, hey, Dean, that doesn't feel good today. And I'm saying, okay, cool. I'm not going to go, right. I'm only going to go as far as I can without pain. The cool thing about, these movements that we do is that you as you do them, as you hold the poses, as you do the exercises, you're able to work deeper into your range of motion. And sometimes by the end of the session, things that did hurt at the beginning now feel okay. And it's the combination of kind of slow controlled movement and breathing that allows for that. All right, go ahead and sit down a little bit more. We're going to hold this for 2 breaths. Work deeper into your hips. Yes, this is hard. Bring your arms out in front of you. Breathe. All right, I'm going to go ahead and come up. All right. From here, we are going to go into a supported side angle. I really like supported side angle. It's kind of like this combination of a hip opening, but also restorative exercise. So we're going to put a block kind of in the middle of the mat toward the top. You're going to bring your right foot outside that block. Left foot is back, setting up like you would for a warrior two. Knee comes over the ankle and the front foot. Go ahead and reach your tailbone down. So I want you to make sure that your lower back isn't poking out behind you. Your lower back is long, your butt is under your torso. And then bring your right hand inside the right knee, tap it to the outside, make sure that you can see your big toe around the knee. Bring your right hand to the block, reach your left arm up, open up there. And if you want, you can add some kind of reps into this, right? So you can reach up, reach back, come back down, reach up, come back down. And so sometimes adding in little movement like this can help you go deeper into things, especially from an active recovery standpoint. If your legs are sore, right, it helps to move your body, right? It's not going to feel great it's okay, you can stay there, but it is going to be harder to move your legs, to hold your legs in one position. So feel free to also, add in little bends or give yourself little breaks as you're going through this. And particularly in this pose, I want you to really focus on breathing into your rib cage. So if you can take a big breath and send that air into your rib cage and kind of expand in your chest as you inhale, and then exhale to roll the shoulder back. Go ahead and look up at your hand as well if you can. Not every one will be able to do this. Maybe your hand is closer to this, and this is the mobility that you have. It'll get better over time. And then we're going to straighten that front leg, come into a triangle. So you might want to keep a slight bend to the right knee. Try to keep this right leg active. So make sure that you're not going totally passive here. So squeezing your right leg, pushing your right heel into the ground, bringing your shoulder back, rolling back the shoulder. Depending on how this shoulder feels, a lot of people, it feels better just to keep the hand on the hip right here. If it feels okay, you can also extend that arm up. As you inhale, poke your head away from your body, so create some length. As you exhale, maybe roll back so you're looking up at your hand. And I love having a block here for a more restorative focus because then I don't have to hold up my body weight on my own, right? I get to use the block, which is nice. So really like using blocks for more restorative workouts, more flexibility focused workouts. All right. We're going to pivot this into a revolved pyramid. So I want you to bring your left foot up just slightly, turn it in about 45 degrees. Bring your left hand to the block, bring your right hand outside your right hip, twist, push your right hip or push your right hip and your right heel toward the floor. So as you drive your right foot into the floor, you'll feel your right kind of hamstring and glute activate. Roll back your right shoulder, right hand to the right hip, Inhale to pull your chest forward. Exhale, twist open more if it feels okay. Extend your arms straight out to the side to start. So just reach your right arm straight out to the wall. And then from there, you can start to reach it up toward the ceiling. Most people are not going to be able to reach it up toward the ceiling, right? This is a good amount of mobility for me, and I'm pretty experienced here. So if your arm is straight out to the side and you've got a good twist there, then you don't have to get your arm all the way up, right? That's a good example of forcing yourself into a position that you're not ready for. One good way to modify is to keep your right hand on your hip, and that way you can just focus on the twist in your torso. Try to keep your hips squared forward the best you can. We're going to be here for 3 more breaths. If you need to work more on your thoracic mobility, this is a really good pose for that. So actually, this combination that we've done here is really good. We did opening one way, right? We did the side angle like this, and then we opened up the other way. And most of you guys really need this. A lot of guys have open hips if they do yoga consistently, but very few guys actually have open thoracic spines. So this is a really good one to do. All right, from here, I'm gonna have you guys take it down into a low lunge. So release your left knee to the ground. If you have a knee pad, go ahead and grab a knee pad. If you don't have a knee pad, get a sock, get a sweatshirt, get something, put it underneath your knee. Coming into a low lunge, allow the hips to come forward, stretch out. Breathe in and out of your nose. If you want to move a little bit here, if that feels good. All right, so I'm just kind of twisting from side to side here. Notice if your shoulders are super tense, see if you can let those relax. And we're getting your hip to stretch out here. That's our goal right now. All right, now I want you to move your right foot back a little bit. So drag your right heel in a couple inches and then allow your knee to go past the toes. So now we're going to work on lunge mobility, but the ankle portion of it. So working on your dorsiflexion. And however you're doing this, make sure that you're doing it without pain. So if you feel like this is uncomfortable, right, you don't have to go as far. This is something that does a lot of most yoga doesn't really work on this mobility. Most yoga doesn't work on bringing the knees past the toes. But this is something that your body should be able to do, especially if you're lifting weights, if you're doing squats. You need to be able to bring your knees past your toes. That's just how your body works. So there, the oft repeated, good intentioned but bad advice, fitness advice about passing the knees past the toes. A lot of people say, "Oh, don't let your knees go past your toes." And the intention behind that is to make sure that you don't put the weight all on your knees and your heels come off the ground. One way to kind of cheat doing that is to not allow the knees to go past the toes. But we should be able to get the knees past the toes while keeping the heel down. So make sure you keep the heel down. Yes, keep the weight in the hips, but do allow the knee to go past the toes. And if you can't do that, that's something to work on. All right, and then one more stretch in the sequence. You're going to crawl your right foot forward. We're going to shift back into a half split or really as deep as you want to go. So if you want to take this into like a full split or whatever a split means to you, and it's more accessible than you think, right? So you're going to move your legs further apart. You might not be able to get your hips to the ground. I can't, but this is what I'm going to do. Can't do this. Remember, you've got the blocks here. You can bring your knee closer up. You can straighten your leg for a more intense stretch. You can also bend your knee if you want less mobility. So lots of ways to play around with the half split or building to a split here to make it work for you. And if you find yourself struggling to relax, that's where we bring in the breathing, right? Slow, controlled breathing in and out of the nose. We'll do 3 more breaths here. All right. Let's go ahead and slowly being the key word here, right? Come out of that. Yes. If you're not moaning and groaning while you're doing yoga, you're not trying hard enough. That's what I always say. All right. So now we are going to switch sides. So I'm going to bring my left foot to the top of the mat. I'm going to bring her block to the middle of the mat. I'm going to bring my knee pad somewhere accessible. I'm just going to have it hang out over here. And we're going to go to side angle. So left foot forward, right leg back, point your back foot out almost 90 degrees. Now we want to try and get the hips between your feet here, right? So don't let your butt poke out behind you. If you're looking at me straight on here, you want to make sure that you're not doing this with your body, right? We don't want the butt poking out here, your back arch, and then that's how we get the shoulders in line with the hips. Instead, you want to see if you can get, right? Want to see if we can keep the hips between the feet, tailbone reaching down, so my lower back is long, um, not arched, and then we can edge the knee out with the hand. But you want to, as close as much as you can, you want to imagine that you're being kind of squished between two walls, right? So you're in a library, and the stacks are pressing you together, and you have to do a warrior two to save yourself. I don't know. Use that as motivation. I'm sure that some people can appreciate um, the fear of being crushed by. I don't know what I'm talking about. All right, warrior two, and then once you're here, hand goes to left hand goes to the block. I'm gonna bring the right arm up, reach back, drive your left heel into the ground, allow your hips to sink forward toward the ground. And this is also a good way to find out which leg is your dominant leg. So for me, I've always had issues with my right knee. So my adaptation for that is to rely on my left leg. So what happens for me is the day after I do leg workouts, very often my left leg is a lot more sore than my right leg. So for me right now, this side angle with my left leg forward is a lot easier than right side angle with my right foot forward. So you're going to have those imbalances. They're just kind of inevitable. It's part of life. Um, Best way to work on them is to just be mindful of the differences between both sides. And sometimes you might have to put in a bit more effort into the weak or the non-dominant side. I think last time we were here, we did some optional reps. So if you want to let your hand come down and then reach it up, that adds a nice kind of active mobility component for the shoulders to the upper back. All right. And then from here, moving into triangle. So you're going to push your left hip into your right hip now. Stretch. Push your left heel toward the ground. Left hamstring and inner thigh should be stretching pretty well right now. I like to try to find a kind of like my center of gravity in my core and my hips as I'm in this position. So make sure that you're not kind of allowing your chest to collapse forward, but keeping your body upright. And again, see if you can build more awareness through your hips, through your core, kind of through your center as you're in this position. The more kind of awareness that you can build in your body, especially in the target areas that you're stretching, the more that you're going to get out of that, the more flexibility that is going to happen. If you don't really feel the muscles that you're supposed to be stretching, not as good. So try to build that awareness. And if you don't have it yet, that's where the consistency factor comes in. You just have to be able to do this stuff on a consistent basis. And it really doesn't take that long. If you can just do 15 minutes 3 times per week, um, then that will help. And, obviously we've got tons of resources to help you do that. You want to extend your arm up and roll your hand back, you can do that. Think about kind of poking your head away from your shoulders, create some length, and then look up, twist back even more. Again, option here to kind of put your hand on your hip if that feels better. One more breath. All right. And then from here, I'm going to have you bring your right foot up a little bit, Point it out to 45 degrees instead of close to 90. Bring your right hand to the block, straighten through your left leg, pull your chest forward, create length. You want to actually pull your belly button toward your lower back, just round your back slightly here so that you feel a little release of tension through your low back. Still abs and hips engaged. You can also squeeze your legs toward one another to make that active. Left hand to your left hip, roll back your left shoulder, look over toward the left, breathe in and out of your nose. And what I like about this stretch is it's great because you are getting that thoracic opening, right? You're getting that thoracic twist that most of us don't do enough of. But we're also getting a nice stretch for the outer left thigh here. So just the nature of being in this position with your legs, but then opening up and twisting kind of shifts the stretch to the outside of the left leg. And these muscles are always super tight. So this is a great stretch. We're going to hang out here for 3 more breaths. Continue to breathe slow and controlled in and out of your nose. Try to keep your hips between your feet, so don't let your hips turn out, turn too much. All right, and then from here, release that hand. We are going to go down into the low lunge now. If you have your knee pad, you get your knee pad. Allow the hips to sink forward. I'd keep your back toes tucked here. So, given the option, yeah, you can untuck the toes if you want, and then you can push your foot into the ground and you'll get more quadricep engagement. But I like tucking the toes just because most of us need to do more toe tucking. Most of us don't do enough toe stretching. So it's a good opportunity to get that in. I'm using the blocks. So again, it just feels a bit more restorative. You can move your blocks forward. If you want to lean forward, that's totally fine. First couple of breaths, just kind of getting set here. And then as you settle in, that's when maybe you can, on the next exhale, go a little bit deeper into the stretch. As you're here in the low lunge, squeeze your right glute. That's going to help you get more opening through your hip flexors. And if you want to kind of shift this to the ankle, that's when you can crawl the left foot back and allow the knee to pass over the toes. And I find that most people, most especially guys who do yoga, but most guys in general, well, actually a lot of women too, don't have the ability to have the knees go past the toes. We just don't train this that much. So this is something that I highly recommend you practice more regularly. If you need to use blocks to make this more comfortable, like you kind of see me doing here, right? You can do that. That's totally fine. And this really helps to build up ankle strength and helps to build up shin strength. If you have, if you get shin splints when you run, or if you step foot issues, if you have struggle with this, if you notice that your knee just doesn't really go that far past the toes, that's a good indication that this is something that's going to help you get stronger and maybe address some root causes of dysfunction in your feet, even in your knees too. We'll do 1 more breath here. All right. And then shifting that foot forward. Now we're going to go into half split. I always like using blocks here just because it feels better to play around with this knee pad positioning here. And it helps to start with the knees bent. All right. So don't block out the leg and make your back turn into this C shape, but bend your leg a little bit, straighten it more, try to keep your back in a nice neutral position. And then if you can, think about, and if you want to go deeper into this, right, you have options here. You can either straighten the leg more. You can also bring your chest toward your feet. I wouldn't think about bringing your head to your knee. Think about bringing chest to your feet. I've never seen someone actually bring their chest to their feet, but that's the intention. That's going to help you create more length through the front of your torso, particularly kind of from your waist to your chest. And that way we ensure that your back is in a good position. And you're stretching the hamstrings instead of overstretching your lower back. Breathe, right? If you're ever experiencing just kind of minor discomfort, it could be a good idea to just breathe through it, get your body to relax. What we're doing here is you're taking your body to end range of motion, and then you're using your breath to tell your nervous system that it's okay, that the muscles can relax, that they can release tension. And that's how we can increase flexibility. Couple more breaths here. All right, in a second here, I'm gonna pop out. I'm gonna go back to the screen and just kind of see what people are saying. Before I do that, because there is a slight lag here, so I'm gonna give some time to kind of catch up to things. Go ahead and go back into a toe stretch if you want, right? So if you don't do this enough, try it, tuck your toes, bring your butt back toward your heels. If that's uncomfortable, you can sit on a block. That way you have a little bit of support. You don't have to put as much weight into your toes. But this is a stretch that I do on a regular basis, especially if I notice something like feet, if my foot pain is popping up or something, if I just haven't done this in a while, or if this feels difficult, that's a good indication to me that I should be doing more of this stuff. So kneeling toe stretches. And then when they get hard, right, you come up, you give yourself a break, and then you come back down into it. But that's another thing to work on. All right, let's see what's happening here. So, all right, someone is speaking, and I believe that's Portuguese. I don't speak Portuguese. I am learning Italian and I speak Spanish. Is this actually alive? Yes, it's actually alive. How to get lower abs? There's a great workout that we have with um, what's his name? Why am I forgetting his name? It's not Anthony. Anthony's the other guy. Anthony Balduzzi's Fit Father Project. Who's my other guy that why am I Ben Sears? I have a whole Ben Sears series. It does a really good job of targeting your lower abs. That's in the app members area. But lower abs, dead bugs are great for that. Special request shoulders. We going through this workout recording later. Good afternoon. Hello. Yes. All right. I just finished the yoga workout. Saw Dean was live here. Catch the recording. This looks like a great routine. What is meant by an open back or hip? I am new and these are new terms for me. Open back or open hip just means flexible, Russell. So thanks for the question there. Josh, can you please stop asking if it's actually live? It's actually live. YouTube is saying that it's live, dude. Come on. It's actually live. So yeah, Russell meant by an open back or hip. So open just means flexible. Um, so like if you couldn't get that deep into a low lunge, right, then I would say that your hip isn't very open. Um, but when your hip opens up more, that just means more flexible. Open back. When I say open back, I usually mean more ability to twist, right? More ability to go side to side, more ability to go like this, right? Kind of this side flexion. So yeah, that's what that means. All right. So we did our low lunge. We did some stretching there. Um, by the way, foam rolling. This is something that I routinely use. I use this. I try to do this every night after I do a resistance training session. So just since we are talking about yoga for resistance training and weightlifting in this thing, I would highly recommend that you guys get a foam roller and play with it. Um, the night of your lifting sessions. If you work out on Wednesday at 4 o'clock or in the morning, then do something in the evening. It's just going to help you recover more quickly. All right, let's keep the session going here. So I want to go to eagle arms. So I'm going to have you guys. I like showing. I think this is a great modification. It might be hard to see via camera. It shouldn't be, but you're going to hold a strap in your right hand, right? And I'm mirroring you guys, so I'll turn sideways so it's a little easier. You're going to hold a strap in your right hand. You're going to bring your left arm under your right elbow and then grab the strap here. So here, and then elbow coming up like this. Allow your shoulder blades to spread, bring your elbows up. And this is a really nice modification for guys, just because most guys are really tight to their shoulders. It's just eagle arms are really hard to do for men. So this is a nice modification. Oop, tripping on my blocks. We're gonna go right leg forward, left leg back, point the foot out 45 degrees. So we are doing a warrior one here with eagle arms. And if you want, you can choke up on the strap, right? So you can bring your arms closer together on the strap, bring your elbows further up, allow the shoulder blades to spread and the elbows to come forward. Push your left heel toward the ground. That's going to help you get a good ankle stretch. And then think about kind of pushing your left hip toward your right knee, going deeper into this, elbows coming up. And we're going to hang out here. Something kind of just a good concept to keep in mind here is that when you're doing yoga, when you're working on your flexibility, it helps to think getting big with your body, right? So you're lifting up, you're pressing forward, you're trying to get your back leg further away from your front leg, you're getting your head up. And that's what we're so that's how we're working on flexibility. So it's just kind of like it's just a good kind of concept to keep in mind as you're working on flexibility, this idea of getting big through the body. Do one more breath here. And then release. All right, we'll switch sides. So now left leg forward, right leg back. Once again, if you want to see kind of what we did with the strap, pull the strap in your left hand now. Bring your right arm under your left elbow like this, and then grab the strap, and then bring your arms up. And then from here, you can bring your hands closer together on the strap. But that's just a cool little ego modification that you can use, especially for my guys with tight shoulders. All right, and then from here, back foot points out 45 degrees. Make sure that you're pushing your heel into the ground. You're kind of pushing the ball mound of the toe into the ground, grabbing the ground with the toes. So that foot is active. You want to make sure that your back leg is locked out so that knee is straight. You're not allowing the foot to cave in to the inside. So that foot stays strong, the arch stays pronounced. And then the elbows come up and forward. The hips press forward, the chest lifts up, and you're getting big through your body. And we're here for about 60 seconds. So we've already done about 30. So 3 more good breaths here. So when I say breath, I do mean about 10 seconds. So if you're wondering what my breath counting system is, it's usually about 10 seconds, but it has been known to be like 20 seconds too. So can't fault you if I say 3 breaths and then like 3 minutes later you're still in it. All right, go ahead and release. All right, moving along. From here, we're going to do what are we going to do? I forgot what we're going to do. We've done hamstrings, we've done hip flexors. Let's do couch stretch because we probably should do more of that. So, but before we do that, let's do pigeon because we all need more pigeon in our life. All right, so pigeon, and I'll show a modification too, just because a lot of guys can't do pigeon yet. Um, so, most basic way to do this, and most basic in the sense that this is the traditional way, not that this works for every body. So, you're going to start in a plank. You're going to bring your right knee to your right wrist, right foot across the body, like so. Make sure that the inner thigh faces up. Relax your hips toward the ground. Keep the inner thigh facing up, outer thighs facing the ground. Crawl your left leg back and allow your hips to relax toward the ground. Now, the other modification here, so this is kind of like this is level advanced in a lot of ways. The other way to modify this is you can put a block under your right hip, right? So you have a yoga block around here. I can put a block under my hip to make this easier, right? So if I lift my hip in the air using a block, then I don't have to have as much flexibility and I can get into a pigeon. If that's still too intense, you can also modify this by bringing your back foot up. So instead of having it back and straight all the way, you can kind of bring it out to the side. So it's kind of closer to a 90-90. In this case, it is helpful to have a pad under the knee. It's not fun to really relax the inside of your knee on the ground or on anything hard. And then the other way that we can modify this is going into a reclined figure four. So you can lie on your back, you can cross your right ankle over your left thigh, just below the knee, reach through, grab the back of the left thigh, flex the toes toward the shin, and then relax your head down. right? So that's how we can do. Those are my different variations of pigeon. You guys are just going to choose whichever one works best for you on this day. Because keep in mind, right, it might be better on other days, better in the sense of it's more open, right? Or it's easier to get deeper into it. So some days you might have to use the reclined figure four variation. And then there could be days where you're able to use kind of the traditional pigeon modification. All right. You guys have already been here for a while. I'll probably just have to do this later on my own to get my pigeon in for the day. I can do one more breath. All right. And then release, come out of it. Now I'm going to go in reverse order. So we're going to start with the easiest variation. We're going pigeon other side. So you can cross your left ankle over your right thigh. You're going to grab the back of your right thigh, flex your left toes toward your shin. So you don't want this left foot inactive. You want to have that foot active. And then you're externally rotating the hip. Right. So you're turning your left knee to face out. You're not pressing your left knee forward, you're turning it to face out. And if you feel any discomfort there, it does help. You can kind of protect the knee. You can hold the knee like this with your hand to make that just feel a bit more secure if you want to. You also don't have to push that knee as far forward. Depending on your flexibility, if you don't have a lot of external rotation, maybe your knee is closer in like this. Maybe it's not facing out to the side. So you just want to choose how to do this in a way that you feel a stretch through. Right now, stretching your left glute, right? The left glute, kind of the outside of the hip. And then level two is going to be kind of that 90-90 position, right? So kind of like this. The knee, notice that the knee is outside the hip. The knee is not in front, directly in front of the hip, but it's outside the hip, like this. And then to go deeper into that, you're going to work on bringing your leg toward the back so the leg is straight. Maybe it doesn't get all the way there. Maybe it gets somewhat close. You can also put a block under your left hip here, right? So the block would go like this, just to lift your hip off the ground. And the block is not the block is what we have, but the block is probably not the most comfortable way to do that. If you have a couple of pillows close by, pillows would be good. If you have traditional yoga tools, you could use a bolster, which is basically a very thick pillow. And then if you're going full, more advanced variation, working on crawling your right foot back, hugging your right leg in toward the middle, and trying to get your body weight kind of balanced in the middle of your hips. Right. So maybe you're newer and there's a lot of weight in your arms. That's normal. Over time, hopefully you get to the point where you feel like you can shift more of that weight into the hips, where it feels comfortable to release the weight into hips. And that's when you're going to get a more intense stretch. I'm going to stay here for a couple more breaths. And pigeon is a lot of these poses are poses that you can really hold for a long time. You can hold them for, 3, 4, 5 minutes. I actually have a series called Flexibility Beyond where we hold the poses for 5 minutes each. We only do we only do three poses for some of those workouts, but they're still 30 minutes long just because we're holding the poses for so long. So if you haven't experimented with holding the poses for a longer time, Flexibility Beyond is a great program for that. So I'd encourage you to check that out. All right, that was definitely two breaths. Let's go ahead and come out of that. All right, now I want to go into a really good stretch for your quadriceps. This is not going to be accessible to everybody, but there are modifications. So if you know that you are one of those guys who are not as flexible, I'm going to have you preemptively grab a strap. We're going to put that around the left foot like so. This is one case where a towel probably does not work for this. So, I mean, yoga straps are like $5. We also sell the equipment on our website, and you can get the whole Cork yoga set there. All right. So, the way that you're going to set up is like this. We're going to have the strap kind of dangled over your left shoulder. You're going to have the strap around the left foot. We're going to step the right foot forward in a lunge. And just for a little bit of balance support, I'd recommend having a block nearby so you can help with that. And then we're going to pull the strap toward you, push your foot into the strap, and come into this kind of supported um, couch stretch slash lizard reach back, which is admittedly a terrible name, but it's a lizard pose, and then you reach back and grab your foot. So that's what I called it. And then if you have the mobility for it, you can grab with your hand, right? So there's options here. This does take a lot of mobility. It's hard to do, right? This is something that took me a very long time to develop. I can kind of do it, pretty casually now, but it took me a really long time to be able to do this comfortably. So this is something that happens with time. Probably won't happen right away. And I'll also say that this is something that, you know, I think I was probably 24 when I started doing this pose consistently. And even then, at the age of 24 and being, like a professional, sorry, not a professional, but like a collegiate athlete, I had trouble with this pose. So I'm not saying that I was super flexible because I really wasn't. I've always been much more of a strength focused person. Flexibility is difficult for me, which is maybe why I enjoy yoga because it's hard for me. Point of all of this being that it will take time to develop flexibility, and if you're not perfect right away, that's okay. That's why I've got all these modifications Whew. And a bunch of beginner programs to help you scale as you get better. All right, let's go ahead and release. We're going to switch sides. So if you used the strap last time and you found that beneficial, then we're going to switch the strap to your other foot. If you don't need the strap, then you don't need the strap and you don't need to put it on. Either way, let's go into the other side. So now left foot is coming forward. Again, I do like having a block because it's nice to have a bit of balance support there. Just make sure it's a, cork block's more supportive than foam. And then bring your foot closer in. And it does help to push against that strap. So whether you're using a strap or just your hand, push your foot into your hand, push your foot into your strap, create a bit of resistance, and you'll notice that you can actually go deeper into it. So push for about 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3. Take a breath in, exhale, and then let it come in. Right. So there's this kind of cool trick that you can do on yourself to go deeper into the stretches. And then over time, right, the hips start sinking forward more. We continue to stay active through the back leg. I'm going to squeeze my right glute here. You do want to stay active through that right hip. Slow, controlled breathing in and out of the nose. And again, you have the strap modification here, right? So you can use the strap. You don't have to bring the foot in as much as you want to. The other way to do this is it's also called a couch stretch. And so what you would do is you would basically mimic this position that I'm in now, but instead of using my right hand here to support the foot, I would allow the right foot to kind of relax onto the couch, right? So it would relax onto where you sit, and then you'd work on bringing your hips back in that position. Try to stay active through that right hip, so continue to squeeze your right glute. Last breath here. All right, let me go ahead and release. All right, so those are two pigeon and the lizard reach back slash the couch stretch. Those are two stretches that do take a lot of flexibility, but hopefully you guys see that with the right modifications, you can make them work for you. All right. Uh, Okay, we've got some cool comments on YouTube. Just so everybody knows, religion's going to be banned by the United Nations. Cool. Thank you for that, Josh. I'm very excited that you've contributed that to the conversation here. Just amazing. Um, cool. All right. So moving on. All right. So we did. I know that I don't have to read the comments, but I just sometimes forget. All right, so we've done the couch stretch, we've done pigeon. Let's do a down dog, right? So the body's really flexible at this point. Down dog it does take a lot of flexibility, so it's a good pose to do right now. Now, down dog does take a lot of flexibility to do. It's hard. Not everyone's gonna be able to do it the right way. So you're gonna start in a plank position here.
You're going to bring your butt up and back. Think about arching your back as you're here. If you can try to arch your back, you're going to have a much better down dog. And then lengthen the backs of your thighs. Find some level of activeness to your hips and your core. Work on getting your heels to press down. And breathe in and out of your nose. So if you are doing a down dog, it should feel pretty challenging, right? Down dog takes a ton of hamstring flexibility. And everybody wants to touch their heels to the ground, but not everyone's going to be able to do that. So bend your knees. All right. Try to keep your back flat at first. If you don't know what your back looks like, you're going to have to record yourself. Prop up your phone, put it on a yoga block, get it so you can see yourself doing a down dog, and then record a video. And then you can actually look at yourself and say, oh, that's what I look like in a down dog. So I would recommend recording yourself as you do yoga so you can actually critique your technique. It's a really good idea. Good skill to develop. So I like doing my down dogs for a long time. I usually get in them and I hold them for about a minute and then I try to trick myself into doing another minute. So the goal with a down dog, you should feel this weight more through your hips than just your hands, right? So you want to focus on pressing your butt up and back such that you don't want to, it shouldn't feel like a modified plank. I see a lot of people do a down dog and they're kind of more in a plank position. So you really need to work on getting your chest back. Most people need to that. And you should feel active through your core here. Abs should be working. Your quadriceps are working, right? If you squeeze your quadriceps, that helps to lengthen the hamstrings. And then over time, and you notice, I don't know if you can see, but for me, my hamstrings are just kind of my heels are now kind of flirting with the ground. They're actually touching the ground every now and then. Whereas when I started, they were pretty far off the ground. So when you hold the poses for a long time and when you practice them, when you hold them for more than just 30 seconds, but you do a minute, a couple minutes, 3 minutes, you give your body the time it needs to really work into the poses. All right, go ahead and
end off there. So feel free to add in anything else there that feels good. Um, we only do so many poses, but you are welcome to throw in anything else that feels good after that. Um, I do want to let you guys go. I'm going to be doing 4 more of these over the next 2 weeks. So if you'd like to, then you can sign up for those. There'll be a link in the description here. You can also go um, to the website, manfulyoga.tv, follow instructions there. But yeah, hopefully if you're on YouTube here, you're already subscribed. You guys in the members area watching this, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being part of our community. Again, it's awesome seeing you guys here. So thank you so much. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys for the other routines. Those are going to be Tuesday at 12 p.m., Thursday at 4 p.m., and that'll be for the next 2 weeks. So there we go. Yeah, just checking some of the other comments here. Russell, I know you're new, so I just want to say shout out to you and thanks for coming. And I hope you enjoyed the routine. A lot of familiar names here. Thomas, endorsement for flexibility on. Kyle, glad you enjoyed that eagle modification. Alan says thank you. Thomas just finished a yoga workout. Saw Dean was live here. Thomas, hello. Paul added a request for shoulders. We did a lot of thoracic mobility today, Paul. And then also I'm going to be doing a shoulder focused, 2 shoulder focused workouts. I don't know if they're next week or the week after that, but that is part of this series. So if you want to see some more upper body, focus for resistance training. And then guys, also, we do have a ton of existing weightlifting, yoga for weightlifters content already. So we have there's Sort of Strong program, which is really popular one. There's also the AM yoga for the PM workout. That's a really good one. We also just released a weightlifting collaboration with Austin Current, who is an IFBB pro, former IFBB pro, and he is the author of Science of Strength Training, which is an extremely popular book. It's sold over 300,000 copies worldwide. So we've got a ton of content in here for weightlifting. If you're not already doing some sort of warm up, by the way, I would highly recommend you do some sort of yoga warm up before your weightlifting session. Everything's going to feel a lot better. You're also going to reduce your risk of injury. You're going to feel more fluid in the lifting. It's just going to feel so much better. You're going to be able to push yourself more. So, again, hopefully, this convinces you to start making yoga a non negotiable priority rather than something that's just nice to have. So, yeah, thanks, guys. I'll see you guys on the next workout. Thank you for joining me. Um, talk about stuff in the community. Talk about stuff in our private Facebook group if you're there. Leave comments, and yeah, be on the lookout for more content. And read the emails. That's the best way to know about stuff. We are doing a series of live events. We've got one in LA in June 7th, June 8th. I'm going to be in Chicago in August. I will be in Phoenix in August. I will be in DC in September. And I will be in Austin in October. So check out our events. Just search Manful Yoga events on Google. Something should pop up. But all right, guys, thank you for being here. I'll see you guys on the next video and have a great evening, day, whatever it is. Bye, guys.